Hi, I'm Joe. Welcome back. This is the Ultimate Love Letter. Thank you for joining the conversation. How to read energy. This perhaps might be one of the most powerful gifts that we have been given. Because if we can read energy, then we know all there is to know. The interesting thing is, we are reading energy all the time. The challenge is, we usually don't believe what we're feeling, or we're hoping that we're wrong. We're hoping for a different sensation. Have you ever walked in a room and you feel tense when you enter the room? Have you ever met a person and you immediately just sense some sort of heaviness about the individual? That is an example of reading energy, and it never lies. How we read energy, first and foremost, is through discernment. God, our spirit, one of our biggest gifts is discernment, and we're to tap into it. I feel like most of us go through life intending to see and feel something differently, perhaps the potential of people. We're looking for clues outside of the individual that tells us everything that is within the individual, when all the while energy is telling you everything you need to know. And it's not lying. It is fact. You sense it, you feel it. Have you ever met someone and immediately your own spirit becomes peaceful? They just exude a type of joy about them, a calmness, and you sense deeply that this is their essence. They're not faking it, because we understand when it is inauthentic, and we also understand when it is genuine. When we meet someone and we feel at peace just being in their presence, that is their energy. That is your discernment telling you what you need to know about this individual. I think oftentimes we meet people, and because we want something so bad within ourselves, and most of the time I talk about this often, for me, I feel that the biggest distraction that us as humans deal with is the distraction of finding a love outside of ourselves. And so when we go out in the world and we meet someone, I feel like we have to first check our own energy first. What is our intention? If we are simply going out because we're looking for a love outside of ourselves, then we're going to be clouded when we meet someone immediately, because we're looking. We're thinking about it with our mind instead of moving with our heart, with our soul. When we move with our heart and our soul, we're no longer looking. We're simply relaxed. We're simply just being, because we understand that God will bring every opportunity. And yes, that's going to look like the love outside of ourselves. So you can just relax. You don't need to be at the bar gazing at who's around you. You don't need to be in the airport looking at, am I going to miss someone if I'm in my phone? I need to be out looking at everyone that's passing me by. No, you simply are doing what you need to be doing in the present moment. And you know that as you do that, God will bring everyone that He has for you to meet. There's nothing else to be done. And when God presents that individual, you then tap into your discernment. How do you feel around the individual? What is their energy telling you about them? I think oftentimes we meet someone and we want to make it into something that it isn't. Like, you meet someone and perhaps they're showing you all the red flags immediately, or perhaps they just showed you one. It's a red flag. That is your birthright. That is your gift to show you what's aligned with you and what's not. If we continue to just blow through the red tape, to blow through those alerts, those alarm bells that are sounding, what do you think will be produced out of it? You're right, more alarm bells, challenges, heartache, misalignment, problems, instead of getting the message the first time. You meet someone, they have shown you who they are, or maybe they're not showing you who they are. Maybe they're saying there's someone else, and maybe they're presenting for you a very calm, quote unquote, peaceful, serene individual. Because again, that discernment, that energy doesn't lie. You sense something, no matter how small, you sense something where it's not quite right. That is the energy. That is your discernment telling you exactly what is true about this individual. No, we may not know everything, but we already know the warning system has been activated. Something is not quite right. Something is amiss. Something about this person's story is less than 100% truthful. Yes, they're putting up a front that they're joyous and they're in peace and they're healed and all the beautiful things, but talk is cheap. Energy never lies. If you sense that something is off, congratulations, the system is working perfectly. There is something that's off. You may not know what's off, and you don't need to know. The work has been done. The discernment has been given. Something is off. Now, you are to move with that information accordingly. I remember a time when I was continually accepting friendships that were less than me, accepting relationships that I knew weren't aligned with me, accepting friendships because I saw the potential in what they could be, when all along my first mind was telling me, this ain't it. Something is not right here. The discernment, the energy you felt is real. And we can now perhaps begin to use it and accept it as true. The challenge here is that we don't believe it. We're looking for the outside that will tell us what's on the inside. So perhaps we're looking at individuals and we're saying, well, they have a master's degree, or they drive a Porsche, or they live in this affluent side of town, or they come from a family who's deeply rooted in religion, or they have climbed the corporate ladder and they have this fantastic title. So then we're thinking, because we are putting them in a box on what we perceive to be a high quality, quote unquote, individual, we're looking on the outside to tell us what the essence is of this person on the inside. Well, energy is going to tell you that. Your alarm bells or your calmness, your nervous system is telling you that the moment we meet a person. We may not have all the stories, but you know your first impression. How many times have you met someone where you couldn't put a finger on it, but something about their presence, or I'll say it differently, something about their energy just kind of repelled you, where you perhaps could not wait to exit their presence? Or perhaps something about you, they couldn't wait to exit your presence. Same thing. Energy is doing exactly what it needs to do. It is putting us in alignment with people that are like-minded. At the same time, we are coming across individuals who perhaps are misaligned, but not a place to worry. That's when we are to decide, or to lean in rather, on our discernment. I was on a tour about a week ago, and Lord have mercy. There was this woman. I had to check myself. There was this woman who had the narration, like every movement on this 12-hour tour, she narrated it from wherever she was at. There was 30 people on this tour, and I could hear her what felt like a mile away. If it was too cool in the tour bus, she commented, "Oh my goodness, it's cold." I'm not sitting next to her, but I can hear her a mile away. We get off of the bus, I can hear her behind me. "Oh my goodness, I don't like how this feels. Oh my goodness, the smell in the air smells like this. Oh my goodness, look at that mountain." It was like she was narrating for the entire group the experience, her experience, right? Her experience. She was just putting out her energy, how she saw the world, and she made sure that everyone saw the world, or heard her version of how she was seeing the world. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But I sensed like I wanted nothing more but to escape that energy. I met a woman on that tour who I very much was digging. We were both solo traveling. She was from the East Coast, which I love. I'm from the West Coast. We started talking about, our travels to Japan and what we're seeing and what we're about to do and all the beautiful things. And I was digging her. And even though I was migrating just organically towards her and her towards me, at some point on the tour, she connected with the woman who just narrated everything on the tour, And the same woman that I was like, I got to get out of her space. Like, I was super annoyed, and I had to check myself because I'm like, what does annoyance say about me? Like, the woman is just expressing the way she sees the world. And yet I'm super annoyed because in my head, she won't zip it. She won't zip it. Like, just zip it, I'm an individual. I'm very quiet in my spirit. I'm very quiet in my alone time. I'm quiet when I'm around people. I'm just very much in a deep solitude, and a lot of speaking, contrary to everything I do as a podcaster. I don't do a lot of speaking. And so immediately I thought, that's what it's annoying me. I'm not a heavy talker. I like my quiet space, and this woman is completely the opposite, and that's what's annoying me. And so I have to check myself because nothing is wrong with what she's doing. So as I was migrating towards the other solo traveler, and then she kind of befriended, the talking woman, the woman who narrated everything, I was like, okay, so I have to now separate myself from the beautiful solo traveler. I would love to get to know her more. I'm vibing with her, but she's now bringing in this other energy, and I want nothing more but to not be in this energy. And so I just organically kind of fell back, and kind of just let them do their thing. And what I noticed is that as we were going through the tour, I noticed that others seem to be kind of like falling back from the woman that was narrating everything. Even the solo traveler who had, migrated towards her and kind of befriended her, she was kind of falling back now. And I remember this woman, being from Chicago. I didn't officially even meet this woman. It's crazy, but I knew she was from Chicago. I heard it when she was speaking about it. And so I knew she was from Chicago. So at some point during the tour, after like maybe 5 hours on this tour, I met another couple, beautiful couple, who said they were from Chicago, and I was just vibing with them. And the moment they said, "Oh yeah, we're from the Chicago area," and I said, "Oh, did you meet the other woman? There's another woman here that's also from Chicago." And immediately the woman and her husband both looked at me, and they gave me this look deep in my spirit. I know what it was saying. And it was like, yes, we know. Yes, we are aware of the other woman who is from Chicago. And then I knew in that moment that energy wasn't lying. It was something about that energy. And nothing was wrong. I'm not suggesting anything she was doing was wrong on the tour. She was expressing herself, and that was beautiful. But something, and we may never know, but something about that energy, my discernment was telling me, you fall back. Not your people. You withdraw. Give her love, give her grace, don't judge, but you fall back. And then how I was beginning to beat myself up a little bit, because I was like, why am I judging her? Why am I annoyed? And I started beating myself up. God confirmed hours later, no. The system is working. No. There is something in the energy that is just simply not aligned with you. And it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Do not begin to now judge yourself, because your discernment has shown you something about this beautiful other child of God. And he confirmed it by way of other travelers that kind of seem to organically through the tour kind of also step into their own discernment and fall back just a little bit. Before I looked up, I'm not even kidding, after 12 hours and that tour came to an end, it was just that woman. And it's so interesting because she started off on this tour, with the energy, spewing all this energy, giving all this energy. And it seemed like, a lot of people were vibing it and feeling it, and she was enjoying the tour. But by the end of the tour, almost everyone that had spent any amount of time within her space had withdrawn. And then she did become quieter at that point. God bless her. I'm praying this doesn't sound like a judgment. It doesn't. If anything, I was judging myself heavily, and I began to beat myself up a bit. But thank you, God, for revealing the truth. I wasn't to judge nor her nor myself. It was simply my discernment, my gift, where God is saying there is something quite not right here, and it is okay for you to withdraw. It is okay for you to go the other way. It is okay for you to leave this person right here in the presence of God while you go the opposite way in God's presence. And so I just felt led to give it to you, to remind us that discernment is working, to remind us on how we are able to read energy. You are reading it every moment you walk in a room. You are reading it every moment you are introduced to another person. You are reading it every moment where you like reading an email. I don't know, if you're like me, you can kind of just read someone's words on paper, on text, and, kind of just feel the vibration. And I know that a lot of communication is lost, by way of email, but you can kind of sense, right? That is your discernment. That is how you read energy, and that is your gift. Let's no longer discount it. Let's no longer see the potential of a situation or the potential of a person when energy is telling you immediately if you are to proceed or if you are to withdraw. I've noticed now in my own life, as I've begun to trust the energy that I'm receiving, as I begin to read the energy and trust what I am reading, then everything has become so much more aligned, so much more at ease. It's like I just then go and flow and migrate to the ones where their energies are giving me a green light, where my energy is giving me a green light, where my discernment is saying, yep, go on and proceed. Yep, this is your person. Yes, this is your party. Yes, that's your invite. Yes, you accept this client. Yes, you take that guest on the show. Yes, you go here. Yes, you book that trip. Energy, and everything is energy. is never lying. Time to get clear. Time to step into this truth. Time to read what God is actually showing you. Yes, you are that powerful. Thank you so much for joining this combo. Please consider sharing it and drop me a line. Do you feel that you're able to read energy? If you do, give me an example. What energy have you read lately that proved to be exactly what your intuition told you it was? Thank you so much. Until next time, love yourself and love others. We'll chat again soon. Bye for now.